the new Falcon 2.0s from Hikmicro, the thermal spotters. This is the FQ50, which is a direct replacement of the original version, and this is the FQ50, but also the L version with a laser rangefinder at the front. Let's open them up and see what comes in the box. They're both packaged the same, so we'll open this one up here. So you have the instruction manuals and details like that. You also get this nice new Hikmicro carry bag for your thermal as well. It's got the molly mount so you can mount it on things. It's got the pockets on the side as well and the straps for it. Also, a good little addition on these new 2.0s in this series. You'll have the carry strap and the neck strap, as well as another strap. You also, with this one, like the Condor, get a hand strap that will go on the side. On either side, you've got adapters on either side. This just gives you a bit more peace of mind when you're grabbing it that's actually strapped onto your hand. Nice little addition on these ones here. And of course, you will have a battery charger like so, and 2 batteries as well. More on those in a minute. And a cleaning cloth. Also, that's everything in the box. So this is one of the originals. This is the 35. This is the 50. And there's a few differences between the two. Most notably, when you first go to turn it on, is the on button that used to be there is now here. Now on the Condor in this series, they've moved it back over here, which makes a lot of sense because the Condors you grab with your hand like that and your thumb can control the on off. They've moved it off there to that side, which for right-handed is a little bit harder to get to. Imagine it's probably the same for a left hand, although you can drop your finger down a little bit easier. Anyway, that's where that's gone to. It's a little bit more out the way, which is good. It does clean these up, and occasionally you go to press the recorder or laser rangefinder, and you've actually turned the machine into standby. So I can see where moving that on-off switch elsewhere can be very beneficial. One of the other big changes in this whole series of the 2.0 from Condor and Falcon lines is they've taken the focus for downrange from here to this little dial back here, which I think is really good. What I have noticed using these is that, one, it's two-hand operation. It's difficult to do that, almost impossible to do that with one hand. But also, if this is on a tripod or a mount, and you do that, you're actually sort of getting a little bit of movement in the whole thing. Whereas on here, because you're actually the whole thing's steady and you're just making this small movement, you don't see that movement downrange when you are adjusting focus. I do like that. I will say that on these models, you do have finer control over that focus compared to this. But for the compromise to turn that into a one-hand operation and not to be wobbling around as much, that is a good balance. Now, we talked about before this strap being on here, which means you've got connection points front and rear on both sides. The previous one, it was just at the rear for this sort of little wrist strap. Another great change they've made is they've taken the USB-C port from under here, where if you are mounting a Arca or Picatinny rail or something there, you've got to keep it offset, otherwise you're going to close up the ability to get to that connection. But that connection on here is now at the back here, which makes it so much better that you could mount that up somewhere, and if you are running power into it, for example, you can do that back there. Speaking of power, not much has changed on the way to get to the battery, but the battery most certainly has changed. The battery for that was an 18650, and that would ship with a 3200 milliamp hours, whereas the new ones are 5500 milliamp hours. You can see that, a lot bigger battery, a lot more capacity. These things are going to last longer and keep you going. So these come in a 35mm, equivalent of that one there, the 50mm, and also this new one, the 50mm with a laser rangefinder as well. So that does mean that this particular model here is a direct competitor to the Condor as well. And all the specs are pretty much the same. So the only real difference is the form factor, if you like something larger that fits in the hand, or this. Now, if you're going to remote mount it, this would probably be a little bit more slimline, a little bit more ideal. So perhaps that's really the defining feature here, is the form factor it's in and depending on how you're going to use it. So we have a larger field of view on these units compared to the previous model, but we also have a slightly lower base magnification. We also have a few more color palettes in this one. Now, you got the traditional white hot, black hot, fusion, and red hot, as well as red monochrome and green monochrome. They're quite good options as well. You also have a feature in here where you can turn off any of those color palettes you don't want to use. So as you're cycling through, let's say you're cycling through fusion and red hot, and normally you would have to go through white hot and black hot to get back to the other ones. You can turn those off as well as the new ones and just be going through fusion and red hot if they were the two you choose. Now, this being a recent release, Hikmicro, it does have the HSIS, which is the shuttleless technology in it. Now, in using this device, haven't seen it refresh. It sort of does it subtly in the background, which does lead to a better experience because, as you guys I'm sure have experienced, with the thermal, it just chooses the wrong moment to refresh. Now, this has a bigger screen as well with a higher resolution, which makes it much nicer to look through. You also get the rounded edges of the screen rather than sort of the normal traditional letterbox that you do in a thermal. It also has a lower NETD rating, which means it's a more sensitive unit. The image quality is going to look better, like you can see here. Also notice that the 2.0s, when scanning, say, across a paddock, it's a much smoother image than the original versions. So guys, let's get into the menus and take you through all the options and features. All right guys, so let's take us through the menu and the buttons. So first up, we're going to press the up button, the first one, and that would normally give us a laser rangefinder, but I think we're too close against the wall. But that would be your first one. You'll hold that one down and that will start recording. And obviously this is in the Falcon laser rangefinder version. You won't have the LRF in the standard one. So press the menu button and that will take you into this sort of initial menu, which you have your brightness, which you can change depending on what your preference is. Go down to your contrast, same again, you can change your contrast. According, these are all pretty standard sort of things. We go down to sharpness, so how sharp the image is. We'll leave that back on 3. You go into your tone. Now you would have seen this, that there is a different tone here, your warm tone and your cold tone. That's a preference on that. You have your Zoom Pro here, which the software will sort of assist in zooming in and try and clean up the image as well. You can turn that on or off if you like the results or you don't like the results. We go into the advanced settings now. You've got your album, so you can look at what you have filmed. Down to your Wi-Fi, your network, so you can hook up your phone and connect in. Now you've got a picture-in-picture option, so you'll see, yeah, you can sort of see there. You've got a box up the top which is zoomed in, which is a really good way to run it. Here, your laser rangefinder, you can set up your type. This is on the laser rangefinder version. You've got your continuous for 5 seconds, for 10 seconds, 15, 30 or 60 from once you press the button, or just the single instance. It also has the horizontal option for the laser rangefinder. So the LRF setting will give you the straight line from you to the target. It also gives you a horizontal factor, which is calculated with the angle that you're looking at to give you a corrected distance. Okay, back into the menu and into the advanced menu. We go down to custom palettes. So this is where you can turn off or on your palettes. So let's turn off fusion and we'll turn off red hot and we'll turn off black hot. So now if we go back to the main screen, as we change our options, you'll see we go through white hot, red and green. We can select that however we wish from that custom palette menu. Come down here to observation, so observation and detection. So these are two modes. The observation would be your normal sort of mode. Your detection is going to, I guess, adjust the image a little bit. It's designed really for hunting to be able to try and make animals pop out a lot more. A little bit of personal preference depending on which one you like the image of. It just adjusts some of the settings and how it looks. This one here allows you to record audio when you're recording. Come down to the auto screen off, you can set up whether or not the screen turns off automatically. So if you drop the unit down and so you're not using it, it will after a period of time turn off. You might like that, you might not like that. It's meant to turn back on once you pull it up to your eye. Hot tracking will identify the hottest part of the image and put a marker there. It can be very useful if you are trying to see something that's a little bit hard to see. On-screen display allows you to change what is shown, so anything or nothing, the time and the date as well. Brand logo, whether you want Hikmicro to show on there or not. There's two USB settings in these devices. One of them allows you to connect and transfer your files across, and the digital option allows you to use your computer to be able to view what's happening on the thermal. DPC is your dead pixel correction, so if you find that a pixel is not responding as it should, you can go and highlight it and it will attempt to correct it and improve the image. Burn-in prevention will stop the screen from burning in like an OLED screen. So if you've always got your menu showing or anything along those lines, it will try some measures to prevent that burning in. Language, self-explanatory on that one. Screen style, whether you want it round or you want to go the traditional square option like so. That will restart it, and you see now we have the square screen, which I don't prefer. So we're back into round mode. Here you can set the time and date. And between those two options there. Here you can set up yards or meters, depending on your preference for the rangefinder. On-off button, if we are going to set it to auto power off after a certain period of time. We can restore it to factory defaults. You can reset the unit. You can see if there's any problems with it, and it will save details. They can be useful for troubleshooting, and details of your software as well. That's the menu for the Falcon 2.0. This is a laser rangefinder version. In the other version, without the laser rangefinder, it's the same details. The only difference is that the non-laser rangefinder in the section where it's about LRF will give the option to be able to use a distance measuring tool. And the bottom button will be your zoom. And you can punch that one in steps. So these are an impressive beast, the new Falcon 2.0, definitely worth checking out. Obviously they're on the website if you're close by, drop in, but check them out. They are a nice upgrade with some good features on the outside and some really nice updates inside as well.